What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Thursday, September 7th, 2023, and I have another emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 1:29 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some more unusual doomsday plane activity over the United States, and I think today might be the most unusual day so far in the past month. Now, if you guys have been watching me regularly for the last month or so, I've been reporting on these doomsday planes almost every single day, and nuclear warplanes, which is extremely unusual to say the least, to have doomsday planes and nuclear warplanes in the air multiple times a day is not normal. But today we have a presidential doomsday plane in the air that's being accompanied by half a dozen aerial refuelers. Okay. And they've been flying all around Stratcom for the last few hours. There's like six aerial refuelers that are just trailing around in a circle all around Offutt Air Base around Omaha, Nebraska. Okay. And there's a presidential doomsday plane leading them. And that is very, very suspicious, guys. Okay, very, very suspicious. When you have that many aerial refuelers in the air plus a presidential doomsday plane, that can only mean a few things. Okay, in a nuclear war, that's exactly what they would do. They would send multiple aerial refuelers to follow the presidential doomsday plane, so this way they can keep it fueled up. Okay. Now, in addition to that, we have a B 52 nuclear bomber in the air right now over the Black Hills of South Dakota. We have another nuke sniffer plane doing loops over Stratcom, okay, the Constant Phoenix. We also have a nuclear war command and control plane in the air right now. And last night we had a B 1 nuclear bomber over the panhandle of Texas that turned its transponder off after getting aerially refueled. Okay. So, guys, I'm telling you, something big is about to happen. This is not just some kind of training exercise. I'm telling you that the activity that we're seeing today and in the last month or so, basically all of August and now the first week of September, I have not seen this much doomsday plane and nuclear warplane activity since I started tracking flights on a regular basis, which is going back to like 2020 or so. So in 3 years, even when the war in Ukraine started, there was nowhere near this amount of doomsday plane and nuclear warplane activity. Okay. Now, 2 days ago, the U.S. tested a Minuteman 3 ICBM, and what was interesting about that test is not so much the test itself or the missile, it was how many dummy warheads they put on it or reentry vehicles. Okay, normally, due to the New START treaty that was negotiated between Obama and Putin back in 2012, normally all of our Minuteman 3 ICBMs, according to that treaty, are supposed to only have one warhead per missile. We have 400 actively deployed missiles, okay, that are actually on standby, ready to launch within minutes. 400 of them, each with one warhead. But when they did the test 2 days ago, they tested three warheads, okay, and they were dummy warheads or reentry vehicles. They're basically just designed to simulate the size and weight of a regular armed warhead. Okay, but the fact that they tested three dummy warheads means that either the U.S. is in the process of up-arming its missiles again after Putin said that he wasn't going to abide by this New START treaty anymore, or they're thinking about up-arming all of our missiles again, and they want to test our missiles to make sure that they can still function with those two extra warheads on each one. because they haven't had two warheads on each one for a long time, to over 10 years. Okay, they all had their warheads removed thanks to Obama. I mean, we spent like billions of dollars literally removing warheads from our missiles. I mean, how stupid can you be? Okay, that is just the dumbest thing. We were tearing down our missiles and removing warheads from them while Russia was building RS-28 Sarmats and Poseidon's, Status 6 oceanic multi-purpose system, nuclear torpedoes and hypersonic weapons. And Obama was telling us to tear down our arsenal. I mean, just how stupid is that? Okay. I'm happy that the military is rearming the missiles, and I'm happy that the politicians are staying out of our nuclear deterrent, because it should not be a political thing. So let me just show you guys a little bit more of these flights here. Okay, so here we have the B-52 flying over South Dakota right now near Spearfish. Beautiful area there. I have some video footage from this area on my channel in my travel playlist. If you ever want to see what the Black Hills looks like, I took a vacation there like 3 years ago. And then here's all these Doomsday planes here over Stratcom. Okay, here we have that Constant Phoenix plane. Look at this Constant Phoenix plane just, doing loops right outside of Offutt Air Base. And here we have the presidential Doomsday plane right here. Okay, and we have multiple aerial refuelers that are tailing it and just going around Offutt Air Base. Okay, very, very unusual. And here's a better look at that. Look at all of these aerial refuelers, guys. All of these are aerial refuelers except for the presidential Doomsday plane here, and then one of the nuclear war command and control planes. But look at this. This is just ridiculous, absolutely insane how many aerial refuelers there are. And then here's the Constant Phoenix Hoover 36. Here's another aerial refueler. I mean, there's so many aerial refuelers, I can't even fit them on the screen to show you guys all of them. Okay, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 aerial refuelers, or 5, or no, it's 6. Yeah, 6 aerial refuelers flying the same path, and the presidential Doomsday plane right now over Iowa, and the nuke sniffer, and the B-52, and the nuclear war command and control plane. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Okay, this is absurd. This is not a training exercise. Okay, they do not do this all the time, because if they did, I would notice it. I have not seen anything like this in the 3 years that I've been following flights, okay, on a regular basis. This many aerial refuelers flying like this close to a Doomsday plane and a nuke sniffer. Something is up, okay? I'm not saying that nuclear war is going to happen tomorrow, but the U.S. is rearming itself, okay? They're clearly they either want to add those 2 extra warheads on all of the 400 Minuteman missiles we have, or they're considering it and they're testing, or they were at least trying to show Russia that we have that capability. And just a few days ago, Russia announced that they were deploying their RS-28 Sarmat, which is basically a first strike nuclear weapon. That's all it is. Okay, the RS-28 Sarmat is a super heavy liquid fueled ICBM specifically designed to launch a massive first strike on the United States. And I know a lot of the people that, support Putin, and they think that Putin can do no wrong and he's perfect. They say, oh, Russia would never do a first strike. If anybody would do a first strike, it would be the U.S. Well, if you go back in history, the Soviet Union actually had a first strike plan to annihilate the United States during the Cold War. Okay, they had a special plan to launch a massive first strike on the United States. And every nuclear country has a first strike capability. I don't care what the politicians say, okay, but they all have first strike plans. The US, Russia, China, even North Korea, all of them. That's one of the main reasons you have nuclear weapons, is so you could launch a first strike. Okay? So that's what this RS-28 Sarmat can do, is launch a massive first strike. And it's very serious. The escalation is very serious. We had pieces of a drone land in Romania a few days ago. A Russian drone, that the pieces landed in Romania. The drone itself exploded in Romania, okay? And the president initially denied it and said, "Oh, no, not a single piece of the drone landed in Romania." And then literally the next day, the Romanian defense minister said, "Yeah, we're sorry, but it's true. There was a drone that may have crashed in Romanian territory, and we found pieces of it." And then the head of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, came out today, and he basically said that there's an investigation underway in Romania about these pieces that they found, and that even if it's true that a Russian drone crashed and detonated in Romania, he believes that it wasn't intentional, that it was an accident, and therefore NATO's not going to do anything about it. That's what Jens Stoltenberg said. Okay, that is like just absolute insanity, guys. That's like giving Putin a green light now. Okay, Jens Stoltenberg is basically saying, "Oh, it was just an accident. We don't believe it was intentional." It just proves that NATO is just not everything it's cracked up to be. Okay, mostly because of the leadership. The leadership, they're not military people. They're left-wing ideologues that have other agendas. They don't care about military stuff. Okay, like Jens Stoltenberg, if you look up his background, he's not a military guy. He's a hardcore leftist that has an activist background with radical views on climate and stuff like that. Okay, here we have the flight path of that B-1 that was flying over the Texas Panhandle. It took off from Dyess Air Force Base, and it got aerially refueled, and then it turned its transponder off. Okay, this was late last night, guys. Very late last night, like 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. I mean, that is very unusual for a B-1 to just take off at midnight and then, get aerially refueled and then turn its transponder off and disappear. I mean, that is very strange, okay? And then everything happening today, with all these aerial refuelers, I mean, it's not normal, okay? Here's the B-1 that was in the air last night, and there were also multiple aerial refuelers nearby it in the Panhandle region and near Colorado Springs. Okay, and then here we have the aerial refueler after it refueled the B-1, and you can see that the B-1 disappeared, and the aerial refueler was still doing loops here. So here's the aerial refueler by itself, and then here's where it met the B-1. Okay, so you can see the difference. Okay, look at the timestamp. All right, timestamp was 4:12 UTC. It got refueled, and then it shut its transponder off by 4:15 UTC. 3 minutes later, it disappeared. All right. We also had a combat sent plane that was sent to the Syria-Lebanon area, and it was patrolling the coast of Syria and Lebanon. And just a few days ago, it was in Iraq, flying along the Syrian border in Iraq. And these combat sent planes are specifically made to pick up electronic signals like radar emissions and things like that. And they forward that information to the president and our top generals. And we only have 2 of these planes in the entire U.S. Air Force. So if they send one of these out on a mission, it means that it's something very serious, because they want to collect information and send it to all the key decision makers in the U.S. government and the U.S. military. Okay, they only have 2 of these, all right? And they also moved one recently to the UK. I don't know if this is the same one they moved to the UK or a different one. So maybe something's brewing here in Syria. Maybe they're about to launch a strike on Syria. Maybe the U.S. is going to launch a strike on Syria or something. I don't know. Um, and if you missed my update from yesterday about the ICBM test, I recommend you check it out. And I shared a video of that test. We also have some breaking news coming from the Russian State Duma, aka the Russian Parliament. They're saying that they will take retaliatory measures against Ukraine for the use of any weapons containing depleted uranium because the US announced this week that Ukraine is going to be getting depleted uranium. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys heard about that or not, but it is 100% confirmed that Ukraine will be getting depleted uranium now. And obviously, Russia is not going to be happy about that because depleted uranium is a very effective armor penetrator for several reasons. Number one, it's very hard, but it's not the hardness that makes depleted uranium so effective. It's the fact that it's pyrophoric, so it has some, like kind of like thermal qualities. When it hits armor, it literally like kind of burns, and that helps to melt the armor. And it also has self-sharpening qualities to it. So when it hits the armor, it actually sharpens it more and helps it penetrate more. And it's much easier to produce than tungsten because you don't need as much alloy materials. With tungsten, you need a 10% alloy versus depleted uranium, you only need 1% alloy. Okay. Now, the downside to depleted uranium is that it's radioactive. It's even though it's depleted uranium, it's still uranium. Okay. Uranium is uranium, whether it's depleted or not, it's still radioactive. And when you have a big projectile hitting something at a very high speed, it's going to release radioactive particulates in the air and fragments in the vicinity. And, that could, cause a radiation situation, a radiological situation, which Russia has complained about. We also have some breaking news that Elon Musk ordered his engineers to disable the Starlink system off the coast of Crimea to thwart a Ukrainian naval drone attack on the Russian Black Sea Fleet. That's what Elon Musk said in a recent media release. And apparently, the Ukrainian drones had explosives on them, and they approached the Russian Black Sea Fleet when they suddenly lost communication. So apparently, Elon Musk was afraid that Russia would respond to Ukraine's attack with nuclear weapons, and that's why Elon Musk pulled the plug at the last minute. I mean, that's what Elon Musk is saying, but maybe he was afraid that they would target Starlink itself, because they did threaten Starlink and Maxar, saying that they could be parties to the conflict. So absolutely crazy stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, guys. Okay. A lot of things going on behind the scenes. And we also have Hurricane Lee continuing to strengthen. The latest forecast from the National Hurricane Center is calling for 160-mile-per-hour winds, okay, at peak intensity. Okay, that's Category 5, well into Category 5. And actually, some of the models are calling for 170-plus-mile-per-hour winds at peak intensity. And let me just read to you guys what the National Hurricane Center is saying right now. The track guidance remains in very good agreement on the forecast for Lee through the weekend, and confidence in the track forecast is high. Lee should continue west-northwest, gradually slowing its forward speed, moving along the southern periphery of a subtropical ridge over the central Atlantic. Confidence continues to increase that Lee will pass north of the northern Leeward Islands, though swells associated with Lee will affect the islands starting tomorrow. by the end of the forecast, the uncertainty is a little higher, with the hurricane models generally being farther south than the global models. Very small changes were made to the National Hurricane Center track forecast, which is between the HCCA and simple consensus aids. Rapid intensification is occurring and will likely continue today. The question doesn't appear to be if rapid intensification continues, but rather how strong Lee will get and how quickly will it get there. Many of the models are calling for remarkable rates of intensification beyond rates normally seen with model forecasts. Both HAFS models forecast Lee to exceed 150 knots within the next 2 days. And even the HCCA brings the hurricane above the Category 5 threshold. Okay, 150 knots is 172 miles per hour. That's one of the models. The NHC intensity forecast has been shifted significantly higher, but is actually within the guidance envelope, NHC, National Hurricane Center. It should be stressed that internal dynamics will become a factor with the maximum strength of Lee as it becomes a major hurricane. This is almost certain to lead to fluctuations in intensity that are beyond our ability to forecast at these lead times. Okay, so they're still not 100% sure where this thing is going to make landfall, if at all. And they're still not sure how strong it's going to be. Is it going to weaken? Is it going to maintain its strength? They're just not sure. It's way too early to tell. Okay, there's already trolls out there going after people saying that, oh, it's, the models are showing that it's turning away. Those models are, you're talking about 10 days out from now. Okay, those models are not accurate beyond like 3 to 5 days. And you're talking about 10 days out. Okay, anything can happen. We don't know yet. Okay. Hurricane Hunter aircraft are scheduled to investigate Lee beginning this evening and overnight, which should provide extremely useful information about Lee's intensity during the coming days. All right, so they're flying in to the hurricane tonight. So I'll give an update later on that. Here's the latest satellite image. You can see how it's forming a nice clear eye wall now. Okay, a nice clean eye. Look at that. All right, so it's strengthening rapidly. Okay, this is no joke, guys. This thing could make a direct impact on the United States, direct landfall. Okay, this is no joke. I want to mention to you guys, one of my moderators, you might know this person. Her name is Lorna, and she told me a story about Hurricane Ike and how initially the National Hurricane Center and all the so-called experts were showing a forecast cone of Hurricane Ike making a turn towards the Yucatan. And so people in Texas and in the Gulf, they didn't really worry too much because the models were in consensus, because the models were showing that the storm was going to turn to the Yucatan, and then it went straight west directly towards the Texas Gulf Coast and made huge impacts. Okay, so you cannot trust these models. These are made to just be kind of like a rough estimate, especially this far out. Okay, we have record warm waters here. There's plenty of fuel for this hurricane. Okay, but that's pretty much it for this one, guys. The aerial refuelers are still in the air. Look at this. And the Doomsday plane. The Doomsday plane is now over Illinois. Absolutely insane, guys. This many Doomsday planes. It's just ridiculous. And all these aerial refuelers. It's just really, really insane. So I'm going to keep you guys updated. But get prepared. Make sure you get right with God. It's important to be prepared, but it's also important to get right with God. That's the most important prep, is your relationship with Jesus Christ. Okay, I know I talk a lot about prepping and survival skills and having food supplies and water and things like that. But all those things, they're just physical possessions and they can go bad. But if you have a relationship with Jesus Christ, You can survive anything, even if you don't have all the things that you may need, okay? Because he's going to protect you. In any situation, he's always going to protect you. So that's pretty much it, guys. Take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.